5-2 Travel and Transportation. 5-2.1 Railways and Airports. Make travel as inconvenient as possible for government supporters, media types, and military-industrial complex management. Make mistakes in issuing tickets, leaving portions of the journey unconnected. If a government agent is trying to make a tight connection, create as many delays as possible. Overbook flights, cancel connections, then when the problems surface, slowly handwrite customer complaints, ask an endless stream of questions, constantly apologize while doing nothing to solve the problem, prolong every process until the train or plane is nearly ready to leave or has left, delete reservations, double charge those who are not paying attention, intentionally send them to the wrong airport or the wrong gate. Obtain access to the arrival/departure boards and randomly program small mistakes into the displays. See that the luggage of government supporters is mishandled or unloaded at the wrong locations. Switch address labels on baggage. Add confusing, suspicious, or embarrassing items into the luggage of government supporters. Be imaginative and have fun at the expense of those who seek to be our masters. Flyers for massage services, oversized adult toys, inappropriate pornography, receipts from strip clubs, or explicit love letters strategically placed in just the right baggage can be priceless to our cause. Always remember, these enemies of humanity would do far worse to you if they had half a chance, so show them no mercy. 5-2.2 Automotive and Roads. Special tip: slicing a tire can be a quick, down-and-dirty strike against authority. A nastier act is to use a razor knife set to a very shallow depth, not enough to go all the way through the sidewall of the tire, just enough to weaken it. Use an old tire to practice getting the depth right. Reach into the interior side of the tire and make your slice from the metal wheel outward toward the tread. Your cut will not be visible, will not immediately cause a flat, and will likely blow when the vehicle is in motion. Because of the shape of the blowout, it will likely appear as a manufacturer defect or road damage. For more fun, reprogram lighted signs to display nonsensical messages or false information. In areas where traffic is heavily composed of government autos, trucks, and convoys of various kinds, remove or change signs at intersections and on-off ramp or freeways. Remove or alter clearance signs on bridges and overpasses with low overhead clearance. Remove or alter weight limit signs on weak bridges. The removal of dead end and no outlet signs can be very important before riots and demonstrations start, as it becomes possible to bait heavy police/military vehicles into a situation where they can neither turn around nor escape. Always remember that locals know their streets and ignore signs. However, in emergencies, authorities move support from other areas, and those outsiders rely upon signage. In Egypt, rioters baited armored vehicles down narrow alleys, then blocked the vehicles in with rubble, tractors, and construction equipment. Then they threw Molotov cocktails, forcing the police to exit their vehicles and run away on foot. More special tips. In spite of popular labeling of police vehicles as tanks or bearcats, the correct terminology is MRAP, or mine-resistant ambush protected. In actual terms, that means nothing to us because we shouldn't be attempting to use mines, IEDs, or any other explosive device against police. But we should understand the inherent weaknesses of these vehicles. They are extremely heavy, roughly 36,000 pounds, which is almost magical for us when mud is involved. They have limited visibility and are difficult to maneuver on tight city streets and alleyways. A well-placed Molotov cocktail at the base of the windshield will blind the driver. Some MRAPs have advanced optics, however, many of these can be disrupted with fire since they are heat sensitive. Also, Molotov cocktails aimed at the running boards are far more effective than those aimed at the roof. On the topic of Molotov cocktails, remember you are dealing with a tool that can quickly turn ugly. Before building, supplying, or using such a tool, ask yourself if you are willing to burn a man to death. Are you willing to cook a man alive? If not, consider the alternative. A glue/glitter bomb may be able to disable the MRAP without the danger of killing the occupants or accidentally setting yourself on fire. The glitter bomb can be as easy to make as a Molotov cocktail while accomplishing the same task and far more humorous in execution. A simple balloon filled with a mixture of 50% Elmer's glue and 50% large glitter, carefully aimed at an MRAP windshield, may have the same effect as a Molotov cocktail, that being the forced abandonment of the protection of the vehicle. However, rather than burning the cop, we cover him with fabulous glitter, much to the envy of stylish cockroaches everywhere. After all, why kill when you can humiliate? If you can initiate damage to a heavily traveled road, passing traffic and the elements will do the rest. If you have access to heavy equipment, use it to cut small ruts in asphalt roads. Passing trucks will accentuate the ruts to a point where substantial repair will be needed. Newly paved highways can be easily damaged with a simple pickaxe. A few strikes in the new soft asphalt is all it takes to begin the process of destruction. This kind of sabotage is very important near capital cities, supporting the fact that governments are incapable of maintaining roads even for their own capitals. Once again, these activities should be done secretly so that when state supporters accuse us of sabotage, the above-ground activists can accuse them of being paranoid conspiracy nuts. Quote, as if anarchists have nothing better to do than go around digging potholes in the middle of the night? Come on, what next? Bigfoot masterminded 9/11? Crop circles are aliens sending anarchist-coded signals? Unquote. This is the game they play with us. Why not reverse it on them? Taxi drivers can waste the enemy's time by driving slow, intentionally driving into congested areas, or by taking the longest possible route to the destination. When called for a pickup, take as long as possible to arrive. Create delays, make excuses, and pretend not to speak the language. Anything to delay and agitate the government supporter. 5-2.3 Lodging, hotels, and motels. Front desk staff, food services, housekeeping, and building maintenance infiltration are extremely important in this sector of business. Travelers are at their peak of vulnerability and typically have a high level of trust in the professionals in this industry. Friend saboteurs who obtain positions in the hospitality industry should do all they can to keep their jobs and not be found out. The list of simple sabotages available in the hospitality industry is only as limited as the individual imagination. Many of the same baggage handling sabotage suggested above under 5-2.1, railways and airports, can be used here. 1. 2 taxis are loading baggage at the same time. One guest is catching a flight at the airport, the other is headed into the city for an extended business stay, and somehow the luggage gets blended. 2. The good Reverend and his wife are in town to head up the congressional prayer breakfast, and somehow a list of escort services appears in his bag along with a receipt dated from the last time the Reverend visited the city without his wife. It has lipstick stains and the words, "Who's my favorite naughty sinner? Ask for Mercedes when you come back, baby." 3. The 4-star general is in town to make an appearance on national television to answer questions about drone strikes on civilians in foreign countries, and somehow 3 drops of phenolphthalein make it into his breakfast. A few hours later, he rushes off camera and almost makes it to the men's room before he publicly soils himself. Oh, how embarrassing. Hopefully no one happened to be standing around with their cell phone in hand, catching that for posterity. Side note of caution, phenolphthalein is very strong and will absorb through intact skin. Unless you want a case of screaming diarrhea, use caution when handling it. Perhaps consider rubber gloves. 5-3 Targeting humans. Of all forms of simple sabotage, targeting humans may possibly turn out to be the most controversial practice, definitely the most dangerous, clearly requires the highest level of skill, and when done correctly is likely to be the most productive to our cause. 5-3.1 The media. The media have been the primary propaganda tool of the state. One can imagine 5,000 years ago a talented storyteller garnering the king's favors by weaving a tale about how the king's mother may have been enticed and wooed by a tricky deity, and that's why the king is so great. He is actually a half-god. And looking back 1,000 years ago, what a catchy tune that troubadour is singing about the merciful king that forgives a criminal every year at the grand feast he throws for the poor. Then, as now, governments steal the wealth of productive people and use it to brainwash those same productive people into loving the government that robs them. In the current manifestation of the state, news and entertainment are so intertwined that sometimes one wonders if it is even possible for the news media to fabricate a story so blatantly absurd that the general public would question its validity. And when a wildly inaccurate portrayal of news events is accepted as fact, often the entertainment industry steps up with a major motion picture retelling the same lie, thereby reselling it to the gullible masses, including the ones who don't pay any attention to the news media in the first place. This presents a problem for those of us dedicated to the truth and committed to revealing that truth to as many people as possible. Our competition, the state puppets in the media/entertainment industry, are extremely well-funded and well-motivated. Like the king's jesters, minstrels, and bards of old, they enjoy their spot near the royal banquet table and are always a part of the royal ball. Trust in the media must be broken for us to succeed. The entire media con and all of its propaganda are like every other con job. It stands or falls on the rocks of trust. The phrase con job is short for confidence job, because the only way a con job can work is if you have and take advantage of the confidence of the mark or victim. The moment the mark loses confidence in the con man loses the con. It therefore follows that if we are to beat the state's media puppets, we must break the public's confidence in their version of current events and history. On the surface, that would seem like an easy task. The media typically employs simple-minded clowns who only seem to be talented in chattering a continual stream of nonsense fed to them in their earpiece. But in fact, it is far more difficult than it seems. You see, the relationship between the con man and the mark is not as simple as one might think. The mark wants to believe the con. Similarly, the public wants desperately to believe the media/entertainment industry. Deep down inside, the public knows that if they question the media, and if the media is found to be lying, then they, the public, will be forced to do something. And the public hates it when they have to do something, especially if by do something we mean research the truth, weigh facts, learn new things, and then act on the newly found information. It's easier to just trust the guy with the perfect hair and gleaming smile that they watch every night on the magic talking box. The key in defeating the media is the same key that must be used against the state on every field of conflict, that being to fight the enemy according to our strength and his weakness. To do this, we must examine the strengths of the mainstream media and entertainment complex and discover its weaknesses. We must avoid the temptation to fight the media on its choice of battlefield, and we must lure the media to our choice of battlefield. In practical terms, as incredibly silly as it would be to invite the U.S. military to an open battle, or as stupid as it would be to attempt something like an armed march on Washington, D.C., it is just as foolish to directly take on the mainstream media by pouring money into our own media outlet designed to directly compete with NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, BBC, etc., based around some dynamic personality or team of talented on-screen personalities. Liberty-minded people who choose these kinds of foolish ventures should not be trusted in decision-making, since they clearly don't have the first bit of wisdom, nor do they understand how competition in a state-controlled market works. These ventures are tantamount to a person who plays online sword fight games, taking on an actual sword master in a real fight with real swords. The mainstream media rely on the big production, the studio with the perfect lighting, the host with the perfect elocution, the seemingly informed experts on every imaginable topic, and the cutaway to the 2-minute, 30-second video clip reinforcing what the talking head just explained. This is not our battleground, and these cannot be our weapons. On this battlefront, the above-ground activists can win the field not by standing toe-to-toe with giants, but by an unending barrage of spitballs fired from a million cynical straws poking out from behind every leaf. The above-ground activists must do what they do best: mock authority, photobomb the man-on-the-street interview, laugh at the experts, pick every newscast apart on thousands of websites. In short, disrespect the mainstream media in every peaceful way possible. Use humor and parody to show the absurdity of the mainstream media. Use inexpensive podcasts, cell phone footage, and live streaming content of actual events. Debunk the media and have fun doing it. Then, dear activists, leave the dangerous part to us, the underground.